The transport vessel, Talon's Pride, hummed with the nervous energy of 24 predator cubs, their claws clicking against the metal floors as they jostled for position. They were Velkari apex hunters from a world where only the strong survived, where dominance was established through posture, growls, and the occasional show of fangs. Their muscular frames, covered in sleek obsidian fur marked with crimson stripes, spoke of generations bred for the hunt, and they were utterly confused by Marin Hale. The human instructor stood barely 5.5 feet tall, with no claws, no fangs worth mentioning, and skin so fragile it would tear on the slightest branch. Her species had conquered the stars not through strength, but through something the Velkari found deeply unsettling: unpredictability. "All right, listen up." Marin's voice cut through the chattering growls. "Today, we're running survival drills in the biodome. You'll be evaluated on your hunting efficiency, territorial awareness, and pack coordination." The cubs bristled with excitement, their tails lashing. This was what they'd trained for. This was their purpose. "But first," Marin continued, gesturing toward the narrow doorway leading to the biodome, "we need to get through that door." What happened next would be discussed in Velkari academies for years to come. The cubs surged forward as one, a wave of muscle and predatory instinct. They crashed into the doorway simultaneously, each trying to be first, to establish dominance, to prove themselves worthy. Shoulders collided, claws scraped metal, and a cacophony of snarls filled the corridor as 24 cubs tried to fit through a space meant for 3. Marin watched with her arms crossed, one eyebrow raised. She'd seen this before. Every species had their version of it. The rush, the competition, the need to be first. But humans had learned something else in their violent climb from the caves to the cosmos. "Stop," she said quietly. The word shouldn't have carried over the noise. It shouldn't have penetrated the competitive frenzy. But somehow, it did. Perhaps it was the tone, not aggressive, not submissive, but something else entirely. Something that made the cubs pause mid-shove, ears swiveling toward the small human. The mass of fur and muscle slowly untangled itself, cubs stepping back with confusion in their amber eyes. They'd never stopped a dominance display before. It went against every instinct. Marin stepped forward, her boots clicking softly on the deck. She walked past the confused cubs and stood beside the doorway, placing one hand on the frame. "Let me tell you something about human culture," she said, her voice carrying that strange quality that made even the most aggressive cub listen. "We have this old phrase, 'ladies first.' It means that males allow females to go before them as a sign of respect." Cub Dralin, the largest of the group and the one who'd been closest to forcing his way through first, tilted his head. His translator struggled with the concept. Respect? For allowing weakness to precede strength? "Not weakness," Marin corrected gently. "Priority. Consideration. Strength isn't just about who can push the hardest, Dralin. Sometimes it's about who can step back." The cubs exchanged glances, their ear fans flicking in agitation. This contradicted everything they'd been taught. The strong went first. The strong ate first. The strong chose first. That was the way of the hunt, the way of survival. But instructor, a female cub named Kesra, spoke up, her voice uncertain. "If the males step aside, doesn't that make them prey?" Marin smiled, and there was something in that expression that reminded the cubs why humanity was feared across 100 systems. "Tell me, Kesra, on your hunts, who typically leads the pack?" "The females," Kesra answered reflexively. "They are faster, more cunning. And the males? They provide support, protection. They guard the flanks. So the females go first because they're the best hunters, not because they're weak. And the males, by allowing this, show their trust in the pack structure. They show they're secure enough in their own strength that they don't need to prove it every single moment." Marin let that sink in. Humans learned that civilizations don't advance through constant competition over doorways. They advance through cooperation. The corridor fell silent except for the hum of the engines. Dralin stared at the doorway, then at Marin. then back at the doorway. His mind, sharp despite his youth, began to process this alien concept. Stepping back wasn't submission, it was strategy, a different kind of strength. Slowly, deliberately, he moved away from the door. His bulk created space, and the other male cubs watched in shock. "Ladies first," he said in halting human standard, the words awkward in his throat. The female cubs hesitated, waiting for the trick, for the trap. But Dralin simply sat, his posture relaxed but dignified. One by one, the other males followed his lead, creating a clear path to the doorway. Kesra was the first to move forward, stepping through the doorway with her head high. The other females followed in an orderly line, their movements graceful and efficient. No shoving, no fighting. They flowed through like water, and within moments, half the class was in the biodome. Then the males went, equally organized, and the entire group had transitioned in less than 30 seconds, a fraction of the time their initial chaos would have taken. Marin was the last through the door. She found 24 pairs of eyes watching her with a new kind of respect. Something beyond fear or confusion. "Instructor," Dralin said slowly, "is this why humans won the coalition war? Not because you're the strongest, but because we learned that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is step aside for someone else." Marin finished. "Because we understand that a pack that fights itself at every doorway will never survive the real hunt." She clapped her hands together, the sound sharp in the biodome's artificial atmosphere. "Now then, let's see if you can apply that lesson to actual pack hunting. You've got 2 hours to bring down the synthetic prey units. Work together, think beyond your instincts, and maybe you'll understand why humanity isn't just surviving out here. We're thriving." The cubs dispersed into the artificial jungle, but something had changed. As Dralin led his hunting group deeper into the undergrowth, he found himself remembering the doorway, remembering the strange human phrase, remembering that strength could take many forms. Behind them, Marin Hale smiled to herself. Another lesson taught. Another group of young predators learning that the galaxy belonged not to the strongest, but to the smartest. And sometimes, being smart meant knowing when to step back and let someone else go first. The hunt began, but the real lesson was already learned.